Alright, well, welcome back to the channel. Tony here. So today we are installing the Hyperpro rear suspension spring. So here's the spring. Nice looking spring. Took about a week to get this. Can't remember how much it cost, but it wasn't that much. I'll post that down below. I'll post that down below. So anyways, this is the important stuff. So it tells you which bike what your levels are. So this is a bike specific. So it's for the CRF 1000, 18 to 19. So it gives me all my settings. In the manual it says for the small, the not tight coil to be at the top, and for the tight coil to be at the bottom. And if I'm not mistaken, it's more narrow down here than up here. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing installed. So first things first, we want to remove the rear tire because we have some other maintenance to do. So it's just going to be easier to remove the rear tire. And then we're going to remove this guy right here. That's about it. And you know, we're up on the center stand, so that's out of the way. We got clear vision to our linkage and everything, and we should be able to, do need to take this off. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into it and start with getting the rear tire off. And then we'll go ahead and start loosening up the spring. Alright, so we got the chain out of the way and the tire. So now we're ready to go ahead and loosen up these guys and take off this right here. We're going to be taking out the rectifier next, and we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and take off the handle, and then we'll go ahead and drop it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove this. Go ahead and loosen this up. Alright, so we put a strap so that this won't just fall on me. And then we've also secured this with a zip tie just so it doesn't fall out. And we'll go ahead and remove this guy right here next. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put the nut back on here, set this aside. Now we've got this one out, so that frees this up right here. And then next we'll take this one off, and then we'll deal with the top. Alright, there we go. So now this is free, and the shock is pretty much free there. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way, and then we'll remove the rectifier, and then we'll come in here and remove that little guy right there. Alright, so next we'll go ahead and remove these two. They're 10 millimeter. And then we'll go ahead and unplug this. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and unplug. Pull the caps off. There's a little button here to push. It's a little cumbersome in here with my big fingers. There's one. Okay, so this is what this looks like. Okay, next we'll take this off. Alright, so we got the handle off, got our rectifier out of the way, and now we're going to go ahead and take off that bolt right there. You can see it right up in there, and then that should drop it down, and we should be good. Let's see what happens. And there it is. Alright, so I got these from Amazon. They're fairly, it's like 40 bucks for the set, and I thought it'd be well worth it for doing this. So we're going to go ahead and compress the spring little by little. Alright, so now we've got these out. That one goes there. And that one goes there. And then we'll just lift this off. And then go ahead and loosen her up. Very much worth the 40 bucks. So there's our old spring. Alright, so they're calling for this to be the top. Alright, so now we've got the spreaders back on, and then we're going to go ahead and see what we can do here. So we got a ways to go to get that in. Couldn't imagine doing this with a tie down. I've seen some people do this with the tie down. I think there we go. There's one. And there's two. There we go. Nice and seated. Well, there we go. Spring is in. All right, so we're ready to put the the spring back in. That should be fun, but we'll give it a shot, see what happens. There it is. It really helps having the bungee because you can really move this up and down, you know, and if you need to push it down more, you can. If you need to pull it up, I think the bungee is the way to go versus the strap. Just gives you more flexibility. It's just kind of creating a negative G on this. All right, so next we've got to get this bolt in. Right now I just have this in its place, just temporarily. All right, so I'm using this to kind of support this so that I'm not struggling with it. So I can pull this out now and it's supporting that, and I can lift that up and down. Seems like a much easier way than just struggling. So we'll see how that works, and then that way we can thread this. Let's take this up a little bit more. Almost. Now we'll go ahead and do the other side. So we're going to go ahead and torque down this one, and it says that's 40 pounds of torque for the top one, so we'll go ahead and get that going. Alright, so we got that bolt tightened over there. That one was 40. This one was 41. And the one underneath here, that was 31. That one way down in there. So the next we're going to go ahead and do our settings. We'll put that back on in the rectifier, and we should be good. Alright, so we'll get the rectifier back on. Get this boot back on, that's the hard part. Alright, so we'll get this on. This should be about the last thing. And then we'll go ahead and get the do the settings as per the chart. Okay, so it's on its lowest setting right now. So it's 8 turns for the preload. Alright, and then static sag should be, okay, we'll do that when we get the wheel on. Compression is 5 clicks, rebound is 1.5.
All right, so we got the spring installed. We're taking it out for a test drive. It's definitely a lot stiffer. And the first thing that you're gonna notice is how tall it is. So I think they say on the website that it is 20 millimeters taller. And you can see, I mean, I'm not flat-footed. I used to be flat-footed, so before I put this spring on, when I'd come to a stop, I could pretty much be flat-footed. I have to really struggle to get flat-footed. And I do have the seat on the lowest seat height, so it feels like I have the seat on the high setting. The second thing you'll notice is on the kickstand. So when you put it on the side stand, going that way. So when you put it on the side stand, you'll notice how much it tilts, and we'll just check that out right now. There's plus and minus on that. All right, so one of the first things you'll notice when you first, put the spring in and you get the bike set up is that it really sits high on the, it sits low on the kickstand, on the side stand. So we'll check that out. So when you first set it down, it's pretty good. You can see there's quite a bit of sag. I have it set on the softest setting right now, but as you can see, it's got a good lean to it. Take a look at it. It's got a good lean to it. So it's definitely leaning more. Now I did put this Tusk, it gives me a bigger footprint. I have the camel toe, and with that it gives me a much bigger, you can see it gives me that good 1/4 inch more, and it actually really works better for in the dirt, because the camel toe is not quite enough when you're in soft stuff, and it does bring you up just a little bit with that. Now the plus is a lot of times if you're in a situation where you pull off the side of the road, you're most likely going to be on a camber that's going towards the shoulder. And previously, if I were to kick the kickstand down, I wouldn't have enough. So at least now you have enough. You just got to be careful that you're not on a camber going this way. So on the left-hand shoulder, you're really going to be dipping down there. So if you're a short rider and you struggle with the low seat and the way the bike is, you don't want the big heavier spring. They do make a spring that doesn't raise the height of the bike, but I think you're really going to need that, because I loaded the bike down with about 50, 20, 40, 60 pounds of weight in my saddlebags, and it really makes a huge difference. I mean, yeah, it drops a lot, and you do have to be careful when you put your kickstand down, because there is a chance that you're going to be, because if you can imagine it, if it's sagged down, weighted down, you're not going to be that high. So just some things to consider, but as far as the ride, it's definitely much better. And I just weighed my gear, and I'm probably going to have around close to, when you count my boots and all my riding gear and everything, you're probably looking at close to 70 pounds of additional weight when I'm traveling with everything's full and so on. So I think it really is a good idea to have that spring if you're going to be loading the bike down. So if I was just riding the bike as a commuter and not doing any of that, then I would definitely, it's fine. But if you're going to do any kind of traveling with any kind of weight, I'm going to say 60 pounds or more. So if I'm pulling over here, I'm on the shoulder, and I go ahead and throw the kickstand down. See how I'm tipsy here? So it helps a little bit on that. But if I was fully loaded, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I think the Camel kickstand is perfect for this bike. You don't need something extra long. You definitely don't want the short one. But if you put like that Tusk pad on there, it's the perfect height. Now it's probably going to be, see, when I come to a stop, well, I didn't put my foot down there just because I'm used to not putting my feet down. So if you're going to come to a stop, you'll find that it's really not too, you know, if this is just the 1 foot and I'm really flat-footed and comfortable, both feet I have to lean over to one side or the other to be completely flat, or I can be balls of my feet on this, you know, in this setting. And again, there's no weight, you know, everything's empty. I'm not fully geared up or anything like that. So at first I was like, you know what, I think the spring is too tall, and I made a mistake by getting the, you know, the heavier spring. And the guys over there and Hyperpro, they're very helpful. You know, they answer all your questions. You know, me being a newbie and I didn't really know. See, so there's plenty of you know, and when it's going to be weighted down, I'm going to have a lot of room for my feet. So those guys at Hyperpro, you tell them what you want, what you're looking for. But being I was inexperienced, I didn't realize that 20 millimeters, I think it equals more than 20 millimeters. It feels more than 20 millimeters. But they're really helpful. You know, you tell them what you're looking for, what bike you have, what you're trying to achieve, and they'll give you a recommendation. I am getting the front springs, but I'm not going to get the front springs that will raise the bike. It just keeps it at the original height, because I really don't want to raise the bike any more than what it is. If you were to put, I think it's 25 millimeters, 20 to 25 more millimeters than what you already have with the rear, it's going to make it a really tall bike. Now, you guys that are really big, you know, you're 6'5" and you're sitting flat-footed with, you know, on the high seat, then yeah, you can get away with that. But I just think, for me, I definitely don't want to raise the bike anymore. So I'm going with I'm keeping the rear spring, and then I'm going with the stiffer springs up front that will not raise the bike. It probably took me, I'm going to say, just around a week from the time I ordered it and I got them. And I'm going to say that I know it was 90 euro, but with shipping and everything, I'm going to say it was about 160 range. All the other places I tried locally in the States said that they're having a spring shortage, so that, you know, they were not expected any springs or anything like that until early 2022. So, you know, Hyperpro, they've got the stuff in stock. I got my rear, I've already ordered my front springs, and I'm totally happy with the performance. And it handles these little bumps pretty well. So there's a couple dips here that we'll check out. Again, this is with the preload pretty much at its softest. There's a good dip up here. Yeah, rear braking is definitely improved, for sure. We'll just use the rear brake on this stop.